Hello guys, welcome back to another video, and today we are doing a review on probably one of, if not the best Rebirth figures. If it's not the best, it's the second best Rebirth figure to release. The Jurassic World Rebirth Gigantic Thrasher purussaurus. Can't wait to unbox this figure. This is probably the figure I've been most anticipated for Rebirth, and yeah. Anyways, first we have let's actually take a closer look at the packaging, but anyways, we have the Jurassic World Rebirth logo, purussaurus, Spinosaurus, Mattel, Jurassic World Rebirth logo. Other part of the Jurassic World Rebirth logo. Again, the purussaurus doing its action feature plus the barcode. Here's it on the back with the Chilantosaurus, purussaurus, slash marks, Jurassic Facts app, some other stuff. Pretty cool. Anyways, before I open this figure, I actually think I mentioned this in the Chilantosaurus review, which I'd recommend going to watch if you haven't watched it already. But I actually got these figures at Walmart, not online, not on Amazon. I actually originally ordered purussaurus on Amazon, but it hasn't come yet. I actually canceled that order. But anyways, the purussaurus and Chilantosaurus, I actually found these in stores. I was going to record, but I don't know why I didn't. I should have, but yeah. No, I actually found these guys on the shelves, and I think they were actually replacing the other gigantic Thrasher figures. So maybe you want to get those soon too if you really wanted them. But yeah, these are way better in my opinion. These are absolutely amazing. Happy that these are already hitting stores. But yeah, I'm in the US, by the way. I wanted to mention that. Don't know if they've hit stores in other regions. I know that for a while they've been in Smith's Toys in the UK. But I'm not sure if they've released anywhere else. So, yeah. Anyways, let's get this amazing figure out of the packaging. Let's just cut the wires right there, and it falls out immediately. Let's get this packaging out of the way. And here it is. This absolutely stunning figure. Just to fix my camera a little bit so that we can take a little bit. Also, I don't know why my background's looking so saturated. Like, it's not really that saturated, but, yeah. Anyways, cannot wait to take a closer look at this thing. So, first, starting off at the head, which, again, I don't know why my lighting decides to be absolute garbage whenever I need to do a review. For some reason, it's usually pretty good. And sometimes it is still really good, just right now it's not one of those times. Let me see if I, actually adjust my camera, maybe if I angle it up instead. I don't know. Maybe I just need more light or something. Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, let's take a closer look. Again, trying not to get the shadows. Again, I'm sorry this video is not going very professionally, but hey. You did not come here for professionality, or at least I hope you didn't. You should know by now that that's not what we have here. Anyways, yeah, we have the head detailing, which is absolutely stunning. Very good detailing. Though, again, it could be more detailed. Like, for example, this neck is a little bit smooth, but still, for what we have, I think it's amazing. In fact, I think this part of the neck is the only part that doesn't really have much detail. The rest of it's very detailed, but again, yeah, we have the head sculpt looking pretty much perfect to purussaurus. We have all these razor sharp teeth. You can see inside the mouth, where it has like a wide hippopotamus mouth. A lot of smooth detailing. Then we have this large throat sac. In fact, I think this whole entire figure just kind of reminds me of the Arc Editions, or well, I guess now just regular Arc, since their official Arc Edition figures got added to Arc Survival Ascended officially. This kind of reminds me of the Arc Survival Ascended. I'm still going to call it that, Dinosuchus. Like, just the way that it holds its body, the way it got, the large throat sac. Except it's purussaurus this time, so, yeah, that's pretty cool. Next, we have, if we go down the body some, we can see that there's, a lot of good osteoderms. That osteoderm detailing going down the back. Plus these, rubbery spines, which I'm happy they didn't do too crazy on, because I was really hoping they would not make this figure too stylized. I think they stylized it in a way in which, of course, they gave it the more exaggerated spikes on it, but they don't take away from the figure or ruin it in any way, and then also they didn't make it super cartoony, which purussaurus already kind of looks cartoony in general, so making a cartoony looking creature would have made it really bad, and I'm really happy they didn't do that. Any worries I had for this figure did not happen. I'm so happy with that. Again, it has these osteoderms going down its back, which look absolutely stunning. Also, it has these two spines that protrude out from all the others right here. Anyways, going down to the tail, a lot more of the absolutely amazing detailing. Of course, we have these rubber spines, which are kind of weird, but at the same time, I still think they look great. Underside of the tail, still pretty good. And then we have the belly scoots. Still surprised we don't have a T-Rex with this detailing. I don't think even the Lab Lockdown Rex has that kind of detailing on the underside. Really surprised Mattel hasn't done that yet. Okay, let me show the scan code before I don't forget, because I know I've forgotten in a few videos. I think the Quetzalcoatlus review, I think I forgot that there. But, yeah. Another thing I noticed is that it has 5 toes and 5 claws, which I don't think crocodilians have claws on all of their digits. I think they do have 5 digits, but not 5 claws. I could be wrong about that, but, yeah. Anyways, we have the legs in kind of like crouching position, and that's pretty interesting that it's in a crouching position, but at the same time still is standing more upright than any other crocodilian we've gotten so far. Still really cool. And again, let me just adjust the camera. Also, it's kind of in like a stepping position a little bit because you can see this foot is off the ground some. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Another thing that I've kind of found interesting is that crocodilians kind of have like two rows of scutes that kind of merge together into one, and none of the crocodilian figures have that except for the Sarcosuchus, which I know Sarcosuchus isn't a crocodilian, but hey, it's the only one that actually has it like that. While this and Gryphosuchus, which we'll talk about what's interesting about those two figures in a second, but yeah, these ones don't have that, which is interesting. Also, really interesting, another super interesting thing about this figure and Gryphosuchus also, they are the only Cenozoic species we have. Excluding any modern ones we've gotten, like the fox and the human figures, these are the only Cenozoic species. I think that, again, Mattel will do more Cenozoic species going forward, of course. Like, it's going to take time. I don't think we're just going to get, like, a Smilodon on a Mammoth next wave or something like that. I do think we're going to get more, like, Cenozoic species, like, maybe, more crocodilians, maybe even terrestrial. I think we were supposed to get Dentinosuchus, which was going to be our third Cenozoic species, but I'm guessing that figure either got canceled, pushed back to wave 3, or maybe even it's just not going to release, or maybe maybe it'll be like the Yoxiosaurus, where it was canceled and then eventually they decided to release it in, like, the next series. Either way, it would be really cool to see that. Yeah, again, I think we'll probably get more crocodilian, maybe some of the Subekians, I think it is, or Barinasuchids. I have no idea. Those ones will be pretty cool to get. Then we'll probably get things like Megalania, maybe, like lizards. And then that's when, and maybe even some turtles, too. And then I think we'll probably get terror birds, since I don't think it's too crazy to go from a feathered dinosaur like Utahraptor or Pyroraptor, and then leap over to a fully feathered, well, avian dinosaur. So, yeah, and then I think after that, we might get a few Cenozoic species, probably just Smilodon and woolly mammoth, and then maybe if we're super lucky, like way in the future, we'll end up getting giant ground sloths or woolly rhinos. But again, I don't think we're going to get like a whole bunch of Cenozoic species unless a whole bunch of Cenozoic species appear in a film. Sorry, I've been rambling on for so long, so let's actually get back to the figure. Articulation, the front limbs move forwards, they do not go backwards, but they're tied to the action feature. Though we have the back legs, which are not tied to the action feature, so you can move them forward. Actually, way further than I was expecting. All the way up to here. You can move it backwards. Okay, if I can get it back. Kind of about this far. So, yeah. Honestly, there's really no point in moving the limbs on this figure, because they can't go outwards or anything. This is just like the standing position. There's really no point. Especially since the forelimbs do not articulate. You can kind of push it down, though. And have it kind of lunge back up, I guess. Again, it doesn't stay down. You can just goes back up immediately. Has nice, strong arm joints. The head can go side to side, though that is part of the action feature, of course. The upper jaw actually articulates. The lower jaw doesn't. I guess they did that so they could add, like, the larger throat pouch, which I think is really cool. It makes it stand apart from the other crocodilians, which I'm also kind of surprised they went with blue on this figure, because we just got another Cenozoic crocodilian, and it was also blue. So, yeah. Thought they were going to go with green for this figure, admittedly. But, yeah, still happy that they went with this to make it stand apart from other Purussaurus figures, which, oh, yeah, forgot to mention, those don't exist. This is, like, the only Purussaurus figure, at least on the market, that you can get. I know there's some models of it, but those are expensive and, like, just, like, very expensive, like, resin kits, I think, of Purussaurus, but that's about it. So, yeah, happy Mattel decided to make a figure of this species. Also surprised they did it before Dinosuchus, which I hope we do get, and I hope it's bigger than this. Because I think this figure, I think it's worse for Purussaurus. Purussaurus, I think, was about this size. Maybe a little bit bigger, but I think this is about the right size for Purussaurus, and it works. But Dinosuchus, which was about the same size as Purussaurus, I still think it would be cool to get a little bit bigger of a figure. Not a lot, maybe like just this much longer and just ever so slightly taller. That would just be really cool. But, yeah. Again, for the actual more articulation, tail moves side to side, and twist, which is part of the action feature, alongside the tail part, this end of the tail part, which also articulates, though, also kind of pointless. Pretty much all the articulation on this figure is kind of pointless, except for the ones tied to the action feature, since, of course, that's the action feature, but the other joints, like, there's really no point, because it has just limited articulation, and they either just useless, like the end of the tail joint, or they're like the the back limb joint, where, like, what's the point of really moving them around when the front limbs don't move? You can't really put them into any positions. Not really a complaint, just saying. Anyways, for the actual action feature, you grab the tail. Okay, accidentally, you have to actually hold the figure down some. Very gentle. You have to hold the figure in place, but yeah. You hold it in place, and then you can kind of make it tap dance. Yeah, no, I'm naming this thing Lyle Lyle Crocodile because if I don't, I feel like that's just not right. It's a literal dancing, well, crocodilian, but hey, close enough. So yeah, basically it can tap dance. Admittedly, this action feature doesn't work as well as, like, for example, the Triceratops action feature, where it can kind of, like, kick its forelimbs. Though, I think it is kind of similar. You do have to hold it in a way in which you're not pushing the forelimbs down, or else you cannot do the action feature. Also, it's kind of random, like, why is the alligator tap dancing? Anyways, the other one is you can just go side to side to make it thrash around, to chomp at things. I can get it to hold straight. Again, it's kind of hard to get, like, actually film it. And make sure the camera angle's kind of good while doing the action feature. But, like, if I were, like, to pull the camera back and just hold the figure, you can definitely get the work. Honestly, action feature's pretty solid. I think I would have preferred for it not to have the weird tap dancing action feature. And instead, you could, of course, twist it to change the head and twist it side to side. But then also have it be able to move the tail up and down, because it can't lunge upwards. I feel like none of the crocodilians until have made to be able to, like, bite upwards, you know, like as if it was in the water and wanted to lunge and actually open its jaw up like that. So, yeah, you would have to just, like, kind of either have it change just, like, side to side, I guess, and just have it, like, lunge out of the water like that. I don't know. This figure is probably not meant to be in water, but since it's not electronic, I don't see why you couldn't. Also, I want to mention, this figure is actually pretty heavy, like, even compared to the Chilantosaurus, this is just a really hefty figure. This is probably one of the biggest of the gigantic thrashers that we got. Maybe Triceratops might be bigger, but outside of that, this is probably one of the biggest ones we've got. Speaking of size, let's actually move on to the size comparison. So far, you can tell I absolutely love this figure. I don't really have any complaints for it, because again, it's just amazing. So this figure measures in at about 15 inches long, which I believe is longer than the Chilantosaurus. So, yeah, 15 inches. And then if we bring in Chilantosaurus, which is the first thing we're comparing it to, yeah, I think it's just like an inch longer. I think the Chilantosaurus was 14 inches long. But, yeah, you can kind of have it, I actually don't know which one is better bite force. We'll have to check that. But, again, you can't really lunge up. You have to, like, kind of turn the head, I guess. Yeah, kind of hard to actually get it to bite anything. Also, I don't know if you hold the arms in place. Actually, you can hold the arms in place and have the chomping still work. Kind of like the Triceratops. Though I wouldn't risk it too much in, like... And, like, just being worried I'd break the figure. But, yeah. Also, I forgot to mention, it has these scales kind of coming off the side of the arm, which almost look like feathers. So, yeah. Anyways, if I can just get it to chomp, I just want to see if I can get it to chomp the Chilantosaurus' neck. But, very hard. Really, it can. It can't really chomp on things too well, which does suck. Also, the jaw does not open very wide. It can't even fit the Chilantosaurus' neck in there unless you squeeze it in there and push the rubber teeth down. Yeah, definitely not the best for hunting larger things. Though, still like this figure. Anyways, next, let's actually compare it to a few things. You already know exactly what I'm going to compare this thing to. First, here's the Velociraptor, which my camera's out of focus, again, for some reason. Anyways, yeah. Here's it with the Velociraptor. Sizes up with pretty nicely. It outsizes it quite a bit. You can see it's a pretty low to the ground figure. And if I can, again, get it to turn its head, maybe it can actually chomp on the Velociraptor. It can kind of hold the Velociraptor in its mouth. I think if I put it in there, it can just barely fit the Velociraptor's body into its mouth. But enough that it actually can. So yeah, that is really nice. You can have it kind of thrash it around, because again, it's a gigantic thrasher. And kind of like have it shake around with the Velociraptor. Anyways, now here's it with a human figure. Which, a human figure is about as tall as this figure. Which I completely forgot to actually do height. I don't think I measured height on this thing. I think I only did length. Yeah, this figure measures in at about 4 inches tall at the highest point, I'd say. So, yeah. Here's a human figure with the purussaurus. I know on camera it doesn't look like it, but I'd say, actually, no, the human figure is slightly taller than purussaurus. But still, purussaurus is basically at eye level, which is massive for a croc. I'm just going to open the mouth, because it's easier to do it that way. It can grab onto things. I think the fact that this thing, unlike the Chilantosaurus, which had upper and lower jaw articulation, this thing has only upper jaw articulation, so the bottom jaw can support whatever's in its mouth. So pretty much this thing doesn't have that strong of a bite force. But the fact that, again, the lower jaw is not articulated, keeps the upper jaw at least being able to hold something in its mouth slightly. So that's pretty nice. Also, it'd be cool to, kind of put it in the water and have the mouth open like it's basking or something, or about to actually lunge at something. But, yeah, this is definitely going to be a fun figure to take some pictures of. So, yeah. Next, here's a few other things to compare it to. I'm going to save the actual interesting stuff till the end, because that's probably the stuff you guys came here to see. So, yeah. Saving that for later. Anyways, I did it in the last video, so I'm going to do it again. Here's it with the, Suchomimus, which it's quite a bit longer than. Suchomimus over, like, is way taller than it. And then we also have the Styxosaurus, which it's actually longer than the Styxosaurus somehow. Honestly, I think, again, to save money, probably Mattel had a cheaper budget for the Chaos Theory figures, which is why they're ever so slightly smaller, or they just happened to make them in this scale, who knows. So that's why I think Styxosaurus, I feel like, definitely needed a bit of a longer neck, since, actually no, for some reason I was thinking Styxosaurus had the longest neck out of any plesiosaur, but no, that's how Bird neck these. But, yeah. Very similar in size, though. I think that the action feature works better on the purussaurus, because at the very least, this figure is in a natural standing position, and you wouldn't really need to have it not in a standing position. On the other hand, Styxosaurus, it just is eternally just like this, forever. Can't balance up, you can't use the front limbs to actually support it or move it around. That really does suck, though the flipper action feature is kind of cool, though, admittedly. So, yeah. Anyways, I think I'm just going to move on to the big stuff now. Anyways, first, here's the, I think it's Mega Dual Attack Amargasaurus, which, it's actually a little bit longer than this figure, I'd say. And, well, the Amargasaurus is definitely heftier. Actually, I think the Purussaurus is heavier than the Amargasaurus. And the Amargasaurus is already a pretty decent size of, like, dinosaur for the size range. So, yeah. Also, mine has really loose legs, but, yeah. The action feature, I'd say, is stronger, though, significantly. So, yeah. Anyways. Next, here's it with the Lab Lockdown T-Rex, the Jurassic World Rebirth Lab Lockdown T-Rex, which outsides it by quite a bit. I think it would be cool if the Purussaurus was like big enough so that it could actually take on a T-Rex figure, though I think this still does work for its size range more accurately. I do hope in the future, when we do get Dinosuchus, hopefully at some point, it's actually big enough so it can actually kind of go up against these other dinosaurs. Like, the mouth could open wide enough so it can grab these other dinosaurs by, like, the throat and stuff. I think it'd be really cool. Though Purussaurus didn't live with the dinosaurs, so there's no need for that. But, yeah, Lab Lockdown Rex. Kind of bite onto it, I guess. Next, we have the Jurassic World Rebirth Tail Thrasher Spino. They're both kind of aquatic creatures, so, yeah. Kind of put them up against each other. Though, something I forgot to check was on the packaging. What does Purussaurus classify as? Oh, okay, so Purussaurus actually does classify as C. Because it's land, air, and sea for the classifications, and Purussaurus counts as sea. I don't know if Spinosaurus counts as land or sea, but, yeah, okay. So I guess that brings our total of sea creatures for the Jurassic World Rebirth lineup to 3. Still absolutely minuscule, and they need way more, and still really happy we got this creature. But, yeah, I feel like this one is more, like, honestly, we should have more like 2.5, since Purussaurus is a semi-aquatic animal. But, yeah. Anyway, here it is next to the Tail Thrasher Spino. And now for the actual crocodile comparison. First, here's it with the Caprisuchus, which it absolutely dwarfs. Maybe we can get a Quincana at some point in the same scale as the Caprisuchus. Honestly, this figure, if I can get another Caprisuchus, I might customize it into a Quincana. Just would need to, like, extend the tail a little bit, and then also, like, cut off all the fangs, or at least shorten them so that they're not fang-like. And that could work as a Quincana figure, but, yeah. Next, here's it with the Gryphosuchus. So, these are both of the Cenozoic species we have from Mattel. Actually, wait a minute, this is not everything. Okay, here we go. These are all of the Cenozoic species Mattel has released. Human, the fox, and, well, Gryphosuchus and Purussaurus. Honestly, I'm surprised they did not make a shark figure to go with, like, the Mosasaurus at any point. But, yeah. Anyways, these are all the Cenozoic species. Fox also doesn't count, so, yeah, let's have that. Eden. Gryphosuchus actually grabbed that pretty nicely. And let's see if Purussaurus can grab the fox. Okay, if I can, okay. Of course, I forgot. The head, again, you can't really grab anything off the ground, though, if I just set it down here. And then just have it do its action feature. It can grab the fox. So you can have it be like, just ignore the canon of Rebirth, because let's be honest, the canon of Rebirth is absolute garbage. Dinosaurs are still everywhere, and other prehistoric animals, and Purussaurus hunted a fox or something out of a river. Well, from the river or something like that. Anyways, that could be pretty cool. And again, really interesting that they went with blue for both of these, though I think the color actually works for both of them really nicely. And, yeah. Comment down below which Cenozoic creature you like the best so far. Yeah, I know they're both crocs, but hey, do you like Gryphosuchus more or Purussaurus? honestly, they're both absolutely amazing. And, yeah, honestly, hope we get more. Like, Stomatosuchus could be cool. I know that's not Cenozoic, but Quincana is Cenozoic. That'd be pretty cool to see. And now for the big comparison. Sarcosuchus compared to Purussaurus. So Sarcosuchus' head is like twice the length of the Purussaurus' head, and also has twice the mouth. Like the mouth opens twice as much. And I think this thing's mouth opened wider. Even if we just consider the back part, it still opens way more than Purussaurus. Though for length, let's see. We're counting from snout to snout, the end of the tail to the end of the tail. Purussaurus is ever so slightly longer, though I think that's because Sarcosuchus' tail is curved at the end. So yeah, there's that. And then Purussaurus is of course a little bit taller because it's actually standing up a little bit more. Though which one's wider? Honestly, I think they're about the same width, though Sarco might be a little bit wider than the Purussaurus. Honestly, can't quite tell. Either way, Purussaurus is significantly heavier. Like, this is actually, it's actually kind of surprising how heavy the Purussaurus figure is. So, yeah. Who would win in a fight? In real life, probably Purussaurus, though here, I honestly don't know. Maybe even Sarco just being able to grab this thing in its entire mouth. Though it is a very bulky figure. So, yeah. For my final thoughts on the Jurassic World Purussaurus, I've been saying this for a while now. Best rebirth figure. An absolute must get. Even if you, like, honestly, this one should just be a necessity for everyone to purchase. I think it's starting to become available in the US. You can order it on Amazon, which is where originally we were going to get it. But, yeah, I don't think those ship for a while. Apparently, you can find them in stores, since that's where I found this figure at Walmart. They should be coming to Target at some point, though I suspect that will be a little bit longer until the figure is released there. Either way, you can literally get this kind of camera angle from this thing, so it's amazing. So, yeah. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and goodbye. La 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 la. So, we're gonna do it like a Jurassic review. Oh, now that's a nice looking figure. Actually, well, hello there, good sir. You look very nice today. La 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 la. Wait, what? Wait, what are you doing? La 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 la. La la la. No, we cannot afford the copyright. Please, no. La 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 la. No. La 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 la. La